I'm Sharon Chung, and today on BizTech Conversations, we have with us Yap Keng Teck, National Vice President of SME Association of Malaysia and Managing Consultant of Bizsphere Brand and Marketing Group. The COVID-19 pandemic is an unforeseen global phenomenon, which has thrown the economy into chaos and has affected most businesses, including SMEs, which make up around 98.5% of businesses in Malaysia, contributing to over 5 million jobs and 500 million to the nation's GDP. Keng Teck, the government 6-month repayment moratorium, right, has ended on 30th of September.
Yes.
So, and the Bank Negara actually has been actively trying to push SMEs to approach their banks to reschedule and also to restructure their loans or financing. What have or has been their grievances when approaching banks?
Well, I have to say that the government is doing quite a good job getting all the banks together. And I noticed that they have actually done several roadshows, getting all the banks together to a certain location and invite the SMEs to go over there to ask questions, to get clarification and so forth. Now, as usual, in terms of the coming up with the events, disseminating information is there, but it bounces down into the process of the application. Now, during the process of application, a lot of the SMEs thought that, well, right now the government can't do anything. The banks would help us in terms of extending my loan and so forth. But we have to understand that what has been offered then was that to restructure the loan. It's not that you do not need to pay the loan for the next few months, whereby most of the SMEs are still not having the sales order coming in. Maybe the sales order, some of them still zero, some of them just 20%, 30% of the normal compared to last year. So paying installment is a kind of burden for them. But for this one, yes, the banks are willing to come in, but it is about restructuring the loan. Restructuring loan meaning that they might just actually extend the loan period, but you still need to pay the installment, but maybe the interest rate a little bit higher. So ultimately, short-term wise, their monthly installment will be reduced. But long-term wise, the cost of the fund will be higher. So it depends on the companies, what do they need. So not everyone would want in terms of the restructuring. Some of them, they want it to reduce the burden. So it depends on the company intention of how do they want to use the fund. But I would say that the approval rate was not that difficult. The approval is not that difficult. Most of them get it. According to Bank Negara, 98% got it, but that is too high. 90%. I would think that maybe about 60-70% on the ground, they said that they got it. Some of them, they didn't actually take it up. Yes.
I see. Okay. But do you think that an extended moratorium is still the preferred and most effective assistance instead of going to the banks, to ask them whether they are able to actually restructure their loans?
Well, moratorium is a good thing, but moratorium is a short-term measure, because no matter what, moratorium cannot be indefinite that it's going to be there. So SMEs, when they get the moratorium, okay, just like example, before the COVID, they have already existing loan. During the COVID, government offer low interest loan, SRF and so forth. They get additional loan, and they do not need to pay their installment for a certain time period from 3 months to 6 months. And if it's extended some more, then ultimately when it ends, they need to pay even more. So actually, from the ground, not every of the SMEs want moratorium. Only certain sectors that want the moratorium, and we do not expect that the government will keep this ongoing, because it will be very heavy on the government. The cost of fund will be heavy. We rather the government will put the money somewhere else, and this moratorium only for targeted industry. Let's say, for example, retail or even the hotels and so forth.
I see. So what if businesses doesn't pick up? So it will further burden the businesses, wouldn't it? I mean, on top of, I mean, you have to pay back, you know, the loans, and the interest rates is higher. So
Yes,
what
it will
do you
definitely
think?
burden.
Okay.
For me is that it has been already about from March until right now already 6 months. Okay, the company should have already gone through some mode of restructuring, remodeling, and so forth. And if you say that the companies, after the loan moratorium, after the interest incentive and so forth, after which subsidies, you can't even survive, meaning that the issues is not only on the government, the issues is on the company by itself. We need to actually do something to pivot, to restructure, rather than waiting for the government to actually give a hand or give any candy or sweets to you. So we have to play our part on that.
I see. Okay, recently, you know, there's a rise of COVID cases, right? And also, I mean, with the current fluidity of our political scenario, which has actually raised market uncertainties and also risks. So what have you been hearing on the ground from SMEs?
Well, on the ground, number one, what they are worried about is that, oh gosh, I think after 6 months, government has been given out a lot of money during the pandemic, and then right now the sudden the third wave is coming. Does the government have any more money to spend? Okay, can we actually expect more incentive from the government? Do they really have the money? They have promised a lot, but do they actually have the money to actually give out? That is the first and most that I heard of. That's number one. Number two is that if let's say, for example, if I don't get anything, if I can't pivot my business, I don't see that the potential of it in the next 3 months, I might just choose to close down first, temporarily suspend the business. Right now, you can see that the GSC and TGV already decided that from November onwards, they are already suspending the business. So they can't actually wait anymore. They have to take some measures on that. Then at least that, then the third one is that because of the political scene right now, uncertainty, maybe there will be a change of the government and so forth, and maybe there will be another elections that is coming on. So again, money will be spent, pandemic risk will be increased, and a lot of people are very, very worried right now what's gonna happen. So it's not very healthy. It's not very healthy. Even some of the foreign companies that I have spoken to, they are very worried of it. Then the foreign investment has been really affected to Malaysia, to the Malaysia local market. Yeah.
So Keng Teck, you know, maybe you can share with us what are the best practices that you have actually seen that it works, right, during the pandemic?
Well, during the pandemic, the best practices, I would say that we can divide into the government and the business. The government side, at least during this pandemic, we have never before that there's so much engagement with industry. Okay, this time during the pandemic, the government, for each of most of the policy, most of the programs that they are going to do, they engage the industry. That is very good. At least that they can get our feedback. Yes, they don't take all our feedback, but at least they take it into consideration and minimize the confusion and so forth. Okay, that's number one. Number two, another best practices is that many of them already starting to automate the process, especially the delivery services. For the business side, that the delivery services from using the online delivery services. From the online consultation, online sales business, a lot of them are moving towards the digitalization. Yet, of course, a lot of them still have difficulties, but most of them, I would say that they are forced to during this pandemic, which is rather good. It actually expedite the process of our digitalization. Yes.
What about the association? What have they done to assist or maybe to support the SMEs out there?
Well, the association, definitely a lot of them have been doing a lot now. Number one, I'm the National Vice President of the SME Association of Malaysia. I can tell you that nearly in every week, nearly 2 or 3 meetings that we go for different government agencies to voice out our concerns on behalf of the SMEs, because SMEs, they do not have a channel to actually raise their concerns, raise their difficulties. It's through the associations that we did after we did the surveys, after we analyze it. Okay, we talked to the different agencies. Okay, we actually negotiated some of the plans that they have that, well, it's not practical, you cannot do this, so can we have this? So we constantly negotiate with the government agencies for the benefit of the SMEs and the business as a whole. And not only SME Malaysia, but a lot of the other associations has been doing so, and it has been very fruitful in terms of the giving the government the right input, because the government really, a lot of them doesn't know what is happening on the ground.
Okay, you said fruitful. I mean, how successful? I mean, in percentage-wise, that the proposals that you have actually lobbied in to the agencies or to the ministries.
Well, I would say that we can say that approximately 50% of our recommendation has been accepted,
Okay.
especially, for example, in terms of the wage subsidy, the extension of the moratorium, then what else? In terms of the this to encourage the B40 or the micro SMEs to do business. We give them the 3,000 incentive and so forth. Yes, a lot of them has been accepted, but we have to also be practical. We have the demand, but it's not that the government able to actually supply, because there are policies, there are the government legislations that we need to consider as well. It's not, sometimes it's not that they do not want to give, but it is must be in accordance to the law as well. And you can't actually change the law right now with the political scenes like that. You don't have a proper parliamentary sittings and so forth. Yeah.
Okay. Besides, I mean, the government initiatives, right? What actually has the SMEs been doing for themselves to help themselves?
To help themselves, well, actually for them, not all, but some of them, they have actually restructured their businesses. And good things that I can see is that they have tried their best to keep their employees. Okay, they know their employees is the key asset of the company. Frankly, most of them that I have spoken to, they try their best to keep the employees. Some of them, they say that, Keng Teck, the business is not good. We are recording losses every month. Then I asked them, how long would you do that? Well, we would try to sustain as long as we want to, because once we close down, we can close down because it doesn't affect much of us. Then we can actually start off later on. But once we actually suspend our business operation, then our team members, our employees, what are they going to do? They don't have income, and they have been following us for so long. So that's one thing that I see that the Malaysian businesses have been doing very, very good. Number two is that some of them, they have gone through the internal audit process. Okay, I have heard one case that they have actually reduced 30% of their wastage, because last time they just business as usual, because business is good, everything is okay. But during this pandemic, they need to find ways to actually reduce their cost, and they did some internal audit, and they managed to reduce their processes and their wastage by 30%. And it actually lower down the cost. And these are the things that most of the SMEs should do right now, so that you can sustain longer, and you might actually find some new ways of doing business that can actually sell back to the same group of customer, but different kind of services that is more suited for them during this pandemic period.
That means to be more innovative.
Well, yeah, innovative and creative in the ways of delivery of the services, repackaging the services, because I still see that it's very hard for the SMEs to do something really, really different from what they have been doing, but doing it in a different way, deliver it in a different way, and structure the payment system into different way. That's how that we should actually be doing right now, because getting new customer is tough right now. We need to actually leverage on our existing network, existing customers, that to know exactly what are their pain points, to see how can we restructure our business to cater to them.
I see. Okay, the budget, it will be tabled tomorrow, right? So what are the SMEs actually looking forward to in the budget?
First of all, will there be any surprises that the budget would not be tabled tomorrow or not?
I see, okay.
we do not know anything that can happen in Malaysia nowadays, okay? Now, in terms of the wish list, I only have a few. Number one, we really hope that the wish subsidies will be extended, because currently the wish subsidies, if I'm not mistaken, it is open until the 31st of December for application, okay, for 3 months. I think that this wish subsidy is very, very important. And the wish subsidy, we should actually consider to extend it to the internship, because a lot of the graduates, they are graduating already. Okay, we are looking into graduates who has graduated no jobs, but they are new batch of graduates is coming out to the market, and they are not going to get jobs. Currently, during the internship, if let's say for example, government can actually extend some benefits for the companies to take these interns to come in as well, that would be great, because currently it is only for the graduates, not the undergraduates. That's number one, which is subsidy. Number two, I mentioned already just now, is the targeted moratorium. It should still be extended to a certain industry which is badly hit. So that is a second one. A third one is a little bit new from me, is that we are looking at also on the SME vendor development program. Okay. Why? Because the SMEs right now, many of them, the business still cannot change anymore. No matter how you restructure, you can't. So we want the big brothers, the MNCs, the mid-tier companies, okay, they are the companies who have already a lot of the best practices, a lot of the demand for supplies and so forth. If the government can work together with the MNCs and the mid-tier companies to work out on the SME vendor development program, not only that the SMEs will be able to get jobs, but they will also be able to be guided or to be coached by these MNCs and the mid-tiers. Because right now, a lot of people are just talking about surviving these 3 months. But after surviving these 3 months, we need to think of the sustainability of the business. You can survive for these 3 months because of government help. What about the next 3 months, next 6 months? If we do not learn ourselves with the new skills, new method of doing business, we cannot grow and we cannot sustain our business. So that is the third one that I'm recommending. The fourth one, which is the export promotion budget, should be increased. Export promotion side, especially what we know is that market budget has been reducing year by year. Market has been a key agency promoting Malaysian businesses, but we are seeing that their budget has been reducing, and they are the frontliners in getting our Malaysian businesses to go abroad. And right now, Malaysian businesses, the market, it has been affected by the pandemic. The demand is so low, and we cannot go out to external market. No matter how good is your business value proposition, you do not have the enough demand, you won't do good. Okay, you cannot sustain. So the budget for export promotion should be increased so that Matrix can do more for us. Okay, that is the fourth one. And the last, in terms of the matching grant for the IR4 and the automation, should be introduced and incentivized. For example, right now, Industry 4.0 is being done for the manufacturing sector. But IR 4.0, Industrial Revolution 4.0, is not limited to manufacturing. The retail side, the services side, we also need to embark ourselves into the IR 4.0 digitalization. And this should be continued, should be encouraged. And we have seen that the government have been giving the 5,000 digitalization grant, the smart automation grant, and so forth. Yet, yes, the money, the allocation is there, but the process of getting the grant is very complicated and is very, very slow.
That means there's a policy gap. I see. Sorry? Okay, a policy gap.
It's not reached out to them. Yeah, and then the process of application of approval, it takes months. Many of them who apply has not gotten the 5,000. 5,000 ringgit. You still want to make the process so difficult, and you expect about 10,000 companies to be able to benefit of it. Right now, only 100,000 companies to benefit of it. Right now, it's only about few thousand who is able to get it. So it's slow. So you come up with the policy incentive, but you need to make sure that it will be able to reach out, or basically reach the hand of the SMEs. If not, yeah, I can get it. By the time that I get it, I cannot sustain my business anymore. So, wow, it's no use. So that is the key. And also in terms of automation, I have to mention that Malaysia government have a great initiative to move on to the Industry 4.0, which I'm also one of the technical committee in the MITI side. But we see that during a lot of application, a lot of SMEs, many of them have not reached the stage of a minimal level of automation yet. So when you have not reached the minimal level of automation, it's tough for you to have a quantum leap into the Industry 4.0. And many of them still doing a lot of manual things, a lot of labor intensive kind of work. So I see that they still need the automation assistance in that sense, so that we can reduce the number of the foreign laborers right now. Last but not least is that we hope the government can allocate a budget to create a system for exchange of labor exchange. Why? Because currently there are some group of companies, they want to scale down, they have extra labor. So where does this labor goes to? And because I cannot just actually let them go, I would be forfeited and so forth. Okay, and the other group of the companies, yeah, my business are getting better because of pandemic. Some business are doing that better actually. I need labor, but the process of getting the labor is so complicated that I can't grow my business. So no one is actually doing the middle part to have an exchange. So if I have more supply, why can't we actually give this supply to those that wanted to demand for it? Why do we need to just go through again all the normal processes that we had before that take so long? So this is hurting the industry and the economy as a whole actually. So these are the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 recommendations that we have over here.
Keng Teck, earlier you mentioned about businesses going into automation. They are not at that level as yet, right? So how can maybe agencies or the government do, or what can they do to, what kind of process can they do to actually help them?
Well, the automation side, it can be similar to Industry 4.0. Right now, Industry 4.0 is that if you go into Industry 4.0 project, the government would actually subsidize the investment, the project investment, 70% of the project, which is the companies will fork out 30%, the government fork out 70%. We don't expect the government to give as much for the automation as well. So maybe in terms of the, let's say if they can give actually, if I can actually prove that I have so many labor, and if I actually invest in this machine, I can reduce, let's say, 30% or 50% of labor, then the government would give me 30% or 50% of the matching grant for it. Then it would actually level it out, because number one, the SMEs need to do our part, not just get things from the government. We need to prove to the government that we are able to reduce the labor incentive processes. So if we are able to prove that to the government, and government can see that it's happening, well, why not? It's a very direct benefit to the SMEs that if you can reduce 50% of the labor, foreign labor, I will give you 50% of the incentive matching grant for you. If you can reduce 30%, I would actually give you 30%. It depends on how you actually structure it, so that only those that really needs it gets it. Because right now is that what we want is that we do not want those companies who is doing okay, doing very good, is also benefiting from the government incentive, because there's not so much fun anymore. We need to focus the incentive to go to the right companies who really needs it, so that it can benefit the economy.
Okay, Keng Teck, as the voice for SMEs, any last words?
My last words, have been interviewed many times. My last word is still the same. Don't wait. Don't wait. Do whatever you can do to manage your, look into your finance, look into your business plan, do your business plan, try to talk to your employees, what else can they do instead of doing the same thing right now. You never know that your employees have hidden skills that can actually contribute to growth to your company. So these are the few things that I would encourage the company to do, and try to be more, receptive to information and participative in the government initiative. Like, for example, if SME Malaysia or government asks you for a survey, asks you for certain feedback, please participate, because it is by that method that the industry and the government knows what is really needed. And this is the best way to voice out what do you need. And if you don't participate in it, at the end, you don't tell the government, tell the industry that the government is not listening to us. Thank you.
Thank you for coming on our show, Keng Teck. I have been speaking to Yap Keng Teck, National Vice President of SME Association of Malaysia. For more business and technology conversations, go to www.biztech.asia.